Nightclubs handing out marriage certificates, governments issuing marriage subsidies, factories shutting down early, and a wave of migrant workers heading home ahead of schedule. From romance to debt, from subsidies to home migration, China is falling into a triple downturn of housing market, population, and confidence. This is the cooling of an era and a wake-up call from reality. Don't miss the next drop. Subscribe and hit the bell. Recently, China presented a scene so bizarre it leaves people speechless. On one side, the Shanghai Civil Affairs Bureau partnered with a nightclub, draping neon lights for a nighttime marriage certificate ceremony. A DJ spun tracks while officials handed out certificates, supposedly to boost the marriage rate. On the other side, Guangzhou Station and the green trains out of Kunshan, Jiangsu were packed with workers heading home early. Over 100 days before the Lunar New Year, half the people had already left. One side manufactures romance, the other side escapes the city. One side pushes marriage, the other side faces layoffs. Put these two images together, and they clash like two eras colliding. To get you married, how creative can local governments get? Shanghai's nightclub ceremonies, in Guangzhou's villages, an 80,000 yuan bonus for a first marriage and another 120,000 for having children. Cash envelopes in Shaanxi, wedding photo vouchers and travel shoots in Zhejiang, each more over the top than the last. It looks sweet, but it's all anxiety. Why anxiety? Because three lines are dropping at the same time. Homes won't sell, young people won't marry, and births won't replenish. Add a fourth, workers heading home early, and the cities can't hold people anymore. This isn't just an economic issue, it's a nationwide triple downturn. Real estate is falling, population is falling, and jobs and confidence are falling. When the government has to rely on nightclubs, subsidies, and vouchers to push marriage, when the stations are jammed with homebound workers before the holiday rush even begins, you know this winter isn't just cold. China's romance, housing, and confidence are freezing all at once. Today we're going to talk about the economic and demographic alarms behind this wave of nightclub certificate ceremonies, marriage subsidies, and workers withdrawing early. Driven to the edge. Government marriage pushing gets absurd. In early November, the Huangpu District Civil Affairs Bureau in Shanghai partnered with a nightclub called INS New Paradise to launch a 4-day nighttime marriage certificate experience. Official copy read, "A romantic night, bring the one you love, and start a sweet certificate party in life's new paradise." The poster featured neon lights and champagne flutes. The background music was a DJ set. A wedding supposed to be a solemn ritual was packaged as a late-night party. As soon as the news broke, Weibo blew up. Some joked, "Get impulsive for marriage, stay calm for divorce." Recommend hotel front desks offer quick check-in to marry, check-out to divorce services. More people said bluntly, they'll stop at nothing for the marriage rate. Facing the uproar, the Huangpu Civil Affairs Bureau had to clarify, couples must receive their legal certificates at the Civil Affairs Office. The nightclub venue is only a ceremonial experience, and there is a sober confirmation step to ensure no one is acting under drunken impulse. But this debunking only made things more awkward. Do government departments really need to work with nightclubs to complete sober confirmation for marriage? Even so, the nightclub ceremony went ahead. State media said the move aimed to promote new trends in marriage customs reform and boost the vitality of the night economy. Former Global Times editor-in-chief Hu Shijin posted on Weibo, "There's nothing wrong with doing this. It just makes one feel a certain helplessness." That word, helplessness, became the most fitting footnote to this policy action. Helplessness isn't limited to Shanghai. Across the Yangtze River Delta and South China, local governments are pushing marriage in all sorts of ways. Ningbo, Hangzhou, Shaoxing, and Jiaxing and Zhejiang issued marriage consumption vouchers of 800 to 1,000 yuan, usable for wedding photography, honeymoon shoots, banquet catering, etc. Lying in Shaanxi simply gave cash. Starting January 1st, 2025, women 35 and under registering a first marriage receive a 1,500 yuan red envelope on the spot. More extreme still, in Nanling Village, Longdui Sub-District, Baiyun District of Guangzhou, 80,000 yuan for a first marriage and another 120,000 for childbirth, 200,000 yuan total. This grassroots marriage and birth stimulus package quickly trended, with netizens quipping that getting married pays better than working. From the Civil Affairs Bureau's nightclub ceremony to local government's marriage subsidies to company-backed sweet economies, society is moving into a policy-driven romanticism, using consumption to stimulate marriage, subsidies to manufacture happiness. What officials call marriage customs reform and happiness indices is really an administrative anxiety response. With the marriage rate at record lows and births declining year after year, the government no longer debates whether to intervene, but scrambles for anything that might raise the numbers. In recent years, China's marriage-pushing tactics have been endless, from park matchmaking corners to corporate romance days, from marriage and birth roadshows to nightclub certificate ceremonies. Yet under the realities of high housing prices, stagnant incomes, and runaway child-rearing costs, young people have learned to respond to the bustle with silence. As one widely shared comment said, When they turn marriage into a check-in activity just to make you marry, the marriage has already lost its original meaning. This isn't just about marriage. It reads like an era's confession. When love, family, and wealth are all made into policy, romance becomes the final form of resistance. Policy-style romance, from pushing marriage to pushing births. The real target of nightclub ceremonies and marriage vouchers isn't marriage itself, it's childbirth. In the CCP's policy design, raising a marriage rate is merely a prerequisite for raising the birth rate. Marry faster to have children earlier, marry more to stabilize the population curve. But the problem is that China's demographic crisis isn't a short-term psychological blip. It's a structural collapse crafted by policy itself. The true starting point of China's population avalanche isn't today's economic slump, but the one-child policy decades ago. The 1979 one-child policy stripped two entire generations of the right to natural reproduction. The CCP once trumpeted, "Too many people are a burden," treating lower birth rates as a modernization achievement. But when economic growth relies on a demographic dividend, the backlash begins: labor shortages, shrinking consumption, and a broken pension balance. Today's marriage vouchers, birth subsidies, and nightclub certificate parties may look creative, but they're all paying for that systemic mistake. From administratively forbidding births to administratively urging births, this is a top-down anti-human cycle from start to finish. China's problem has never been only that people don't want children, but that life is too hard to afford them. With sky-high housing costs, uncontrolled education expenses, stagnant wages, and soaring child-rearing costs, young people aren't facing a marriage question, they're facing a survival question. A popular Weibo comment reads, "You want me to marry and have kids, but I don't even have a stable job. You say a house is the symbol of a home, but it's a lifetime of debt. You say having more children is patriotic, but I can barely support myself." Economist Yi Fuxian pointed out long ago in Big Country with an Empty Nest that the real estate bubble's root isn't in the market but in demographics. He predicted that after 2025, China's population would enter an accelerated decline, dragging down the entire domestic market. Today, that prediction is playing out. According to official statistics, in 2024, China had only 7.8 million births, the lowest since the PRC's founding. That same year, there were only 6.83 million marriage registrations, an all-time low. This means both marriage and childbirth have entered an era of negative growth. Even so, local governments continue to mask anxiety with ceremony. Weddings are moved to parks, malls, and metro stations. Marriage centers extend their hours. State media tout marriage customs reform and happiness indices. Yet behind the commotion lies a nationwide population panic. The truth of marriage pushing is birth pushing. And behind birth pushing lies a deep fear of the future. When the population no longer grows, taxes, labor, housing, and consumption all shrink together. This isn't just a social issue. It's a regime issue for the CCP. The collapse of real estate, from mortgaging to buy to mortgaging to sell. For most young Chinese, marriage is no longer just a ceremony. It's the start of a debt. 6 years ago, Yang Qing bought her first home in Beijing's suburbs. It was 2019. Sales offices were ablaze with lights. Agents chanted, "Buy early, rise early." Now every day, she opens a listing app and sees a brutal number, 2.2 million yuan, fully 1.8 million less than her purchase price. Worse, she still owes the bank 2.3 million. To sell, she had to take out another loan of over 100,000 yuan to cover the remaining balance before transferring the deed. This odd phenomenon of mortgaging to sell is becoming the new normal in China's property market. From the nationwide fervor of mortgaging to buy to the collective exit of mortgaging to sell, the Chinese wealth story has completed a desperate circle. Wang Bin's story took place this fall. He listed his apartment with hope, only to be slapped by reality at the agent's office. The home he bought for over 2 million is now worth barely over 1 million. His remaining bank loan is 1.2 million, meaning even if he sells immediately, he still owes the bank 200,000. Wang smiled bitterly. "Selling now is like cutting flesh. The later you cut, the more it hurts." My Yan's experience is even more heartbreaking. She and her husband struggled for years in their hometown and borrowed from friends and family for their wedding apartment. Now, to clear the mortgage and process the transfer, she borrowed another 200,000 yuan from the bank just to sell the place and stop owing. When she signed the sale agreement at the agency, the house was gone and no money remained, yet she felt she was finally free. According to Economic Observer and multiple agency datasets, since 2025, second-hand prices in major cities have generally returned to levels from 4 to 8 years ago. First-tier cities fell back to 2021 levels, second-tier to 2018, and third and fourth-tier all the way to 2016. UBS's latest housing report shows nearly half of homebuyers are sitting on paper losses. This decline is not only reshaping the market, it is tearing families apart. Some refinance to pay off mortgages, some are forced into judicial auctions, Some sell at half price and still owe tens of thousands to the bank. A line circulating online sums it up. Before, we feared we couldn't buy. Now we fear we can't sell. Meanwhile, the industry's bubble is bursting structurally. As early as 2019, Wang Qifan, former Chongqing mayor and then vice chairman of the China Center for International Economic Exchanges, warned that the era of housing undersupply is over. He said that in the next decade or more, new home transactions would drop from 1.7 billion square meters a year to under 1.0 billion. The number of developers would fall from 90,000 to 30,000. Home prices would no longer double in 5 years, but enter a long period of stability or even contraction. Today, that prediction is materializing quickly. Official statistics show that in the first 3 quarters of 2025, national real estate development investment fell over 8% year-on-year. Private loan demand continued to shrink. Land sale revenue for local finances fell nearly 20%. Many cities purchase subsidies and anti-fall orders serve as stability tools, but can't reverse declining transactions. The collapse of market confidence is also triggering macro-level chain reactions. From 2020 to 2024, national bankruptcy cases surged from 43,000 to over 100,000. In the first half of this year alone, there were an additional 4,135 bankruptcy and related cases involving more than 23,000 enterprises. Behind these numbers are household cash flows locked by mortgages and corporate credit chains. Economists describe China's economy as entering a housing price deflation model: prices down, credit shrinking, consumption cold, employment weak. In this structure, falling home prices shrink household wealth and dampen consumption. Business failures spread unemployment and further reduce demand for housing. Fading confidence reinforces the slide. It's a classic negative feedback loop, a whirlpool pulling both the middle class and the working class under. For many, the crisis is no longer data, it's life collapsing. Some default, some dump assets, some simply head home early. When a house turns from life security into a debt prison, people realize the 20-year national homeownership dream was fueled by 30 years of future debt. Factory lights out. The homeward tide 100 days early. Outside the housing market, another ebb tide is unfolding in chaos. This autumn at Guangzhou's Shangyong long-distance bus station, homebound luggage piles higher than people. Though the Lunar New Year is still more than 100 days away, the waiting hall is filled with the noise of workers going home. A woman filming said, "Everyone here is headed back, jobs are gone, factories are giving early holidays." Another voice on Douyin spread, "The migrant work tide is over, the homeward tide has begun. If you haven't come to Guangzhou, just stay in your hometown." The same scenes appear in Kunshan, Jiangsu. Aisles on the green trains are crammed with luggage. One netizen said, "There are too many people on the train. This is the first batch going home early from Kunshan. Tough luck." The annual migration that usually starts in December has moved up to November. Someone commented, "Ticket prices haven't risen yet, but half the people are already gone." For most workers this year, going home isn't for reunion, it's to stop the losses. A construction worker in Panyu, Guangdong wrote, "Projects shut early this year. Wages were delayed. I can only pack up and go home early. Can't keep going. This year I lost badly." Mr. Wang, who lives near Guangzhou's Huanshe West Road bus station, also said that out-of-town workers with big bags are leaving, most from Hubei, Hunan, and Jiangxi. Looks like many factories started holidays early. Behind this early lies the broader slump of Chinese manufacturing. According to the Guangdong Statistics Bureau, manufacturing fixed asset investment fell 3.2% year-on-year in the first 3 quarters of 2025. The shutdown ratio of small and medium enterprises in the Pearl River Delta keeps rising. Labor demand is shrinking. A sociologist at Nanjing University analyzed that this isn't seasonal, short-term contraction. It reflects structural malaise, falling wages, shorter projects, fewer orders, forcing firms to stop production early and workers to go home early. From Guangzhou to southern Jiangsu, an entire made-in-China belt is experiencing unprecedented stagnation. Rental rooms vacate early, small eateries enter off-season, wholesale markets go quiet. These micro-changes embody the macro data. When factories stop running, when assembly line lights are dimmer than nightclubs, the whole supply chain decelerates. What does an early homeward tide mean? It means the outflow of urban labor is arriving early and the contraction of the consumer market is becoming reality. When industrial cities lose workers, real estate, dining, and logistics cool together, and the city's economic lifeblood is drained. This early homeward tide is therefore not just a transport phenomenon. It's a warning. It signals that the foundations of China's economy, its twin pillars of manufacturing and real estate, are loosening simultaneously. Homes won't sell, factories won't run, young people can't afford marriage and don't want children. When these fractures connect, the macroeconomic crack becomes a social fault line. From nightclub certificates to mortgaging to sell, from factory shutdowns to going home early, this winter, China is undergoing a triple cooling of economy, society, and confidence. And in this struggling downturn, no one can truly stand apart.